Did you watch Joe Biden's farewell address last night? Man, it was surreal. Apparently, his handlers just informed him about the dangers of a powerful oligarchy controlling U.S. policy. Imagine that. In the interest of truthful reporting, I must say that their analysis seems quite confused. So let me try to help them out by going through what actually is going on here. I'm harleysch from the LaRouche organization with your daily update for January 16th, 2025. It was 64 years ago tomorrow when Dwight Eisenhower gave his farewell address, and he warned of the dangers of a military-industrial complex. Eisenhower said, "We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence by the military-industrial complex," unquote. His warning has been often cited, but mostly ignored. We've been dragged through a succession of wars in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Ukraine, among others. Unnecessary wars, long-lasting wars, and costly abominations. As a result of the power of the military-industrial complex and the related corporate oligarchs who are defending a unipolar order for their financial concerns and interests. That's why the military-industrial complex was created, for the purposes of defending that order. And the names of such individuals as Henry Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Alexander Haig, Madeleine Albright, all of whom were servants of that military-industrial complex. And this is the military-industrial complex today that's running the collective Biden through Blinken, Susan Rice, Samantha Power, and others. And of course, before that ran the Obama administration. And it's this military-industrial complex which is threatened by the pledge of Donald Trump to take power out of its hands, to drain the swamp. So in this last minute, Biden was put forward to warn about the power being concentrated in the hands of an oligarchy. Here's some of what he said, which I think is useful to hear if you didn't see it, to get a sense of how they're trying to manipulate you today to look toward the Biden administration as a great success. Because he started out by lying about the great accomplishments of his administration. And then he said, "That's why in my farewell address tonight, I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a few very ultra-wealthy people. There are dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead." Now, clearly, who's he talking about? He's talking about Trump, Elon Musk, and those who supported Trump, ignoring that same oligarchy that supported him in the past. Now, he went on to say, we've seen it before, the effects of this. But today, he said, "I'm concerned about the potential rise of a tech-industrial complex. It could pose real dangers for our country as well. Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. The others are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies, both for power and for profit." Joe, what do you think has been going on for the last 4 years? Just because they were supporting you, they were not a threat? Just because they dictated policy to you? Now, if you think about this and look at the course of the last 4 years, it becomes absolutely clear why there's an all-out offensive now from these same forces to prevent Donald Trump from bringing into his cabinet certain officials who are against this concentration of power. I'm talking about in particular Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, and we've done a report that's available to you on who's trying to stop them. Because the idea of draining the swamp is precisely aimed at these concentration of powers that Biden is allegedly warning us about today. Now, think for a minute about what just happened in the Middle East, where Biden is taking credit for getting a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Now, this could have happened at any time in the past 16 months. The United States claimed through Blinken that it was trying to get a ceasefire, but it was blocked. Sometimes they said Hamas was blocking it, other times they admitted it was Netanyahu. But they never used their ultimate power, that is, the threat to withhold aid, military aid, weapons procurement, and just plain money, to withhold that from Israel if Israel continued the policy of genocide against the Palestinians. They could have done it before, just as they could have had a peace agreement in Ukraine in late March and April of 2022, when negotiations between Russia and the Zelensky government actually drafted a peace agreement, which was then ripped up at the orders of NATO through the intervention of Boris Johnson, then British Prime Minister, going to Kiev and warning Zelensky that the aid will be cut to him unless he rejects the ceasefire. So how many tens of thousands of children could have been saved in Gaza had the threat been used, the power of the purse been used by the United States to stop the Israeli genocide? How many Ukrainians and Russians would still be alive if the peace agreement would have been consolidated in the spring of 2022? What we're looking at when the collective Biden speaks is the pronouncements of a gang of war criminals who have hidden behind lies and censorship, going back to the Russiagate story, or even before that, going back to the Maidan coup in 2014, that they've used lies and censorship through the power of controlling the narrative to continue these wars that provide profit for the military-industrial complex, but weaken the power of other nations striving to break free from the imperial policies of the oligarchy. And now hapless Joe is out there benignly warning us of the effects of having an oligarchy hijack countries. Well, you know, the thing that I would say ultimately is that this is a classic case of an attempt to evade prosecution. Now, whether he will or not, I don't know. We have no real accountability that's been established, but maybe that will change with Trump. And we still have to hear what role Trump actually played in pushing through the ceasefire in Gaza. I think there's a bigger story there that's going to come out in the next days. Because while Blinken claimed he tried and tried for many, many hours, how did it happen so quickly? So I think that's important to look at. Now, on the question of an oligarchy, I would encourage you to watch, especially the opening of the dialogue I had yesterday with Helga Zepp-LaRouche on the question of geopolitics. Because geopolitics is the ideology used by the oligarchy for permanent warfare and for protection of the empire of the corporate cartels. It's a very profound discussion from Helga that should be listened to by everyone, because we are going into a period when we can move toward peace. If Trump follows through with his commitment to end the war in Ukraine and stop the genocide in Gaza, and then looks to the potential for working together with the BRICS, with the Global South, we would have an opportunity to escape this 5 centuries of imperial warfare and looting that is coming to an end today. It's going to come to an end one way or the other. It would be better if it came to an end through eliminating the threat of geopolitics and working together for mutual benefit. Is that possible? Well, listen to the arguments from Helga Zepp-LaRouche in the dialogue yesterday. I think you'll find them quite compelling. So that's my report for today. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll take your questions and comments. You can send them to me at harleysch@gmail.com.